Hello everyone, my name is Hala Abu Shakra. Today I'm gonna present my research presentation about using a phenomenological approach for the analysis of two different houses in Bahrain. This presentation will investigate the author's personal and bodily experience of two different houses in Bahrain. The first case study, which is Sheikh Isa bin Ali House, which is a traditional house located in heritage area, through a site visit, observation, and asking the people there about how they feel during their visit to the house and the area, to highlight the importance of the phonological practices in the design process, especially in the heritage culture sites, as it will create quality spaces where the visitor will feel a sense and the spirit of a place, and this will last in their memory. Furthermore, it will encourage the visitor to revisit the place again to that place in contrast to the places that doesn't have achieving the phonological approach. The author designed the second house in a modern style without considering the phonological aspect during the design process. And the house was located in a new development area, in the East Al Had in Bahrain. And the author will examine the experience of the space and the atmosphere of the modern house based on monitoring the personal five senses: touch, taste, smell, sight, and the hearing through the experience of the light, sound, touching material, and the interior spaces. This study will help to improve the quality of living in contemporary houses, and this will lead to enhance the feeling of a place, as well as to improve the quality of heritage building in Bahrain. And this will draw the attention to the tourists to visit this kind of building, and this will lead to a positive impact on the economic resources of the country. Our contemporary houses nowadays are facing many problems, which is lacking in the cultural identity, and the same problem in affecting many historical and heritage buildings over the world, regarding neglecting the phonological aspect during the design process. The first case study, Sheikh Isa House in Old Muharraq. Muharraq is an island in the north of the Kingdom of Bahrain, and it's well known for its great culture and old tradition Bahraini houses. And Sheikh Isa bin Ali House is considered one of the oldest and the most famous Bahraini house in that area, which is located in the end of the Burning Bath. The Burning Bath is around 3.5 kilometers long, starting from Boumaher seashore, and it is the only remaining natural coastline in that area, and ending with the Siyadi complex and Sheikh Isa bin Ali House, which is in the heart of the Muharraq. The second case study is located in new development area in East Al Had. It's a planned city under construction in eastern Muharraq of Kingdom of Bahrain, and it was constructed on a reclaimed land. Section 2, the literature review. Phenomenology and bodily experience in architecture. There are many scholars and research talk and focus about the phenomenological theory, and they said or stated that the successful urban system should follow and employ the observation method. And also, people regularly perceive and notice things which impact how they perceive places. And they claim also that more satisfying influence journey and the historical and heritage spaces or sites are must involve an emotional experience. Example of the bodily experience in architecture. There are two great examples for applying the phonological aspects in the design. The UNESCO World Heritage listing of Melaka and George Town, the historical cities of the Straits of Malacca, include the historical urban acroces of the two cities of Malaysia, and that illustrate the 500 years of cultural and commercial exchange between the East and West, and one can actually experience a place in Malaysia, Malacca Heritage Zone. Walking in the famous Malacca River in the early morning while listening to the pleasant low murmur of the river. On the opposite sides of the street, cars and motorcycles are moving past while birds are chirping above. And also the colors used in the streets, people, buildings, and other urban utilities create a proud image of a strong symmetry and connection between the different areas. And for the second example, which is a religious case study, it's the mosque of Tribuken in India. The mosque follows the Mughal architecture, and the visual senses can be seen in the symmetry of the facade, the vibrant colors, the material's finishing, and the material's texture that filter through the vision, and also the smell of the burned wood and the stick in the space, which will indicate the serenity of the space. Furthermore, they use the water feature in the entrance, which will calm down the individual in front of the entryway. Coming to the research methodology, this study will follow qualitative methodology. Several site visits have been made for both case studies in different times and days. In the first case study, the author used personal observation using a 5-point Likert scale and a 3-point Likert scale for the interview with the local visitors and tourists. In the second case study, the modern house in East Al Head, the author used personal observation to analyze the house based on the phonological aspect. For the ethical approval will be sought to protect the participants' rights and confidentially, and the limitations such as interview can cause biases and be time consuming. These are the results and the finding for the personal observation for the traditional house located in Old Muharraq. The scale will indicate to which extent the phonological aspect is implemented in the design of Shaikh Isa house in the Old Muharraq, starting from number 1, which is no contribution, to the maximum number 5, which is highly contributed, based on the personal observation. And the evaluation will be based on the architecture design elements such as like the main entrance, interior spaces, architecture facade, lighting, shading, and the surrounding area. And here is the result and the finding for the personal observation of the modern house located in East Al Head. This is the result and the finding for the local visitors and tourist interviews. And these questions will allow for the exploring the participants' perspective and their sensory and bodily experience regarding the phonological aspect in the cultural and historical building in Bahrain. The discussion. Evaluating the Sheikh Isa house in Old Muharraq based on the sensory experience for the local and tourists in that place will evaluate their feelings and emotion regarding sound, smell, touching, visual aspect, and how they feel and interact with that place. And most of the visitors were having a successful and a great experience, and they say that they feel the sense of and the identity of that place. And I remember one visitor told me, I know every single detail in this area and I feel I'm belonging to this place. So, the historical house of Sheikh Isa house presents a unique style reflecting the Bahraini cultural identity through the touching material, visual aspect, building design, colors, texture, and if the heritage and historical place is designed according and based on the phonological aspect, they will succeed, and the people who visited them will remain in their memory, and especially when we are designing such a places where our senses are strongly connected with the memory, and it will create the strong connection between the visitors and the place, leading to encourage the visitors and the tourists to revisit that place, and this will encourage the developers to invest in this area and positively will affect this country. The second case study show a successful in following the phonological design in some aspect of the house, such as appropriate selection of natural material used in the courtyard and other parts of the home, and also using listening to the sound of the water design with the natural stone in the courtyard will evoke the human senses. But on the other hand, unfortunately, the house did not follow the phonological and the sensory approach successfully in some aspect of the design, like the low quality material used in some areas such as the family halls and the exterior facade of the house lead to the effect and the relationship and interaction between the user and the place, and the loosey distribution of the spotlight increasing the house temperature and create a reflection in the flooring which will affect the vision and make you feel uncomfortable in that place, and the low ceiling height negatively will affect the user experience in the place. In conclusion, it's very important to consider the emotional as well as the sensory and bodily experience that we must consider when the human interact with the built spaces, especially in the cultural and heritage and historical sites, to reflect the identity of Bahraini culture and the spirit of a place. Moreover, this presentation will give you the evidence for the case study of Sheikh Isa house in Muharraq, in Old Muharraq, provide evidence in this presentation by dealing with this approach is very important when creating a heritage and cultural site. And as Malinar, he stated that the point of immersing people within an environment is to activate the full range of the senses. In the second case study showed lacking in achieving the sensory and bodily experience in some aspects, especially because the design was very modern and typical to many houses here in Bahrain. And to have a meaningful design is to have a physical aspect and non-physical aspect that can affect our mood positively, energy, and how we think and act and feel. And to improve the quality of life, we need to create experience that harmonize, engage the multi-sensor in the flat place. These are the references. And finally, I would like to thank Alanya University and the University of Bahrain who gave me this opportunity to participate and be part of this conference. And also, I want to thank Professor Najla Alani for her continuous support and advice. Also, I want to thank my friends and the visitors for their valuable support in conducting this field of work. Thanks to everyone who helped. And thank you very much for your listening.